Hello and welcome to another episode of What Do You Call It podcast. I'm your host, GP. I don't really have a cowboy hat, so it doesn't really work like my guest does. But we are literally around the corner from WrestleMania. Happy days. If you don't really care for WrestleMania, then that's your problem, not mine. I'm kidding. Today's guest is from Canada, a country boy that has made his way through the European wrestling scene since '02. Please give it up for Lonestar, Tim Strange. How you doing today, mate?
Thank you for having me. I'm good. Thank you for having me.
No problem
Always
at
a
all.
pleasure.
Thank you for
Always
coming on.
enjoy it.
So, at the time of recording, as I just said in the intro, it is WrestleMania week. A few days away from the biggest show of the year.
Exciting
Showcase
times.
the Immortals, whatever's been said about it. So, I want to ask, I just feel I'm obliged to ask, and I'm going to assume you are a lifelong wrestling fan. Are you looking forward to WrestleMania? If so, what match do you think is going to steal the show?
See, I'm looking forward to WrestleMania. Yeah, of course I
Nice.
am. But for me, it's like, what match do I think to steal the show? What match am I looking forward to the most? So obviously,
Let's do it in two ways then. So let's go with what match are you genuinely looking forward to the most, and what match do you think is going to steal the show?
I think you gotta go with Roman and Cody.
Mm-hmm.
Roman's been on a roll, having great matches.
Yep.
Cody is great talent, great ability. Story behind it, everything's built up. You've got that. Then you've got, of course, the tag team match between Sami and Owens versus the Usos. That again is going to be a great match. So to steal the show, I think it'll be between those two matches, strictly because the stories behind them and what they can
And the
tell and
crowd
the
involvement
moments
for
they'll
both
create.
matches, it's going to be
Exactly.
incredible.
The moment that it'll create at WrestleMania
As soon
is
as that,
what.
1, 2, 3, the fans
Exactly.
will erupt in LA.
But I just want to see the reaction when Roman retains. You know what I mean? That's the thing.
A
I
part of
think
me
it'll
does
be.
want him to get to 1,000 days as champion
I want him to
sometime, but
retain.
a bit long term. It's just I think you kind of got to go with Cody, don't you?
Yeah, but I think it's not you've got so much more because I think Cody was robbed of his year with
Yeah,
the injury that he had.
big time.
And I think when he came in, he had some great matches with Seth Rollins.
Mm-hmm.
And then he got injured, and then he was out for the year. And then he came
Mm-hmm.
back at the Rumble as number 30. Do you know what I mean? And he had a
Yeah.
good match with Sola just gone on Raw. And obviously that was a good match. But I think when you think about it, you're thinking you could probably easily get another year of this Cody story
True.
that he comes up
You
short
can
here
do
and
like
then
a
builds it up
rematch
for the
at
rest of it.
SummerSlam, possibly. And then
Exactly.
between that, you can have Roman, I don't know, even like a triple threat maybe between Owens and Zayn, and maybe build up some new guys. I mean, you've got Braun Breaker in NXT.
Exactly. He's coming through. But he could have anyone show up, I think. And I think it's a good, like, can you imagine if Sammy came out and cost Cody the title? And moving on from that, like the
Yeah.
storyline, like my head's going wild. It's the first time in
There is
ages, and
so
I'm
many
just
options.
thinking
I think it is
you
unpredictable. I
can,
think Roman 1,000 or Cody fulfills his, the prophecy. Dad's what his dad couldn't do or what his brother couldn't do.
but you can milk that for another year. I think you
True.
get out another year of that, especially when because he hasn't really had the story of building up to that moment.
Yeah.
And I think if you have Roman defend it again, he can easily get another year out of that reign.
Mm.
If Roman wants to be around for another year, I think he wants some time off. But he's doing a relaxed schedule now anyway. I think he's not on SmackDown
I'm
and
looking
Raw
forward
every
to it.
week.
I think with Roman's,
So
with his schedule, you can still work around it, keep the belt on him, and have him do the odd promo, which he has been doing anyway. But I think that's what
exactly.
has made him the star that he is since the pandemic. I know he's always been a star, but like now he's like an actual
Yeah.
bona fide star, the
But I
biggest
think
in the
the
company.
match that I'm looking forward to as one of my personal highlights is Omos versus Brock Lesnar.
Mate,
That's a
I'm up
match for
for
me,
it.
and I'm thinking it's gonna be a match. I like
I'm
the
looking
build up
forward
to
to
it.
it. I'm interested.
I
I
like
know
when they
like
have
it's not gonna
Brock
be five
Lesnar
stars, but I don't
standing
give a
against
shit.
Omos, and Brock, who normally towers over people,
Yeah.
to go in as the smaller guy. And I know he's done it before with Braun Strowman, and you get
Yeah.
people like. But I think for Omos, he's sort of. I think you've had like Andre the Giant when I was watching wrestling.
Yeah.
He was the big guy. Then came the Big Show, and
Mm-hmm.
he was the big guy. They tried it with Great Khali, didn't really work out that well. But there's something about the Omos MVP together that I like watching it. Like I
Yeah.
enjoy watching it. Now you never got to get like 5-star
No,
classic
God, no. It's not
matches.
gonna be a technical
But
masterpiece. It's not Brett Owen or
the
Angle and
spectacle of it,
Eddie. Yeah.
exactly. I mean, the spectacle of almost walking out. Because I remember as a kid going and watching live wrestling, even when I was a teenager, going and watching the Big Show walk out, and
Hmm.
you're going, "Holy shit! Look at the size of this
Yeah.
guy." You know, and now the
You
kids
need the
nowadays
giants in
go,
wrestling. I'm sorry, but you do. It's
exactly. My boys, they watch it and they go, "Almost as big, Dad, isn't he? He's
yeah.
massive, isn't he?" And they go, "Yeah, he is." I know he's 7'2", I think he is, something like
And I
that.
think
I think he's
you
just
think
a
like
few
he is
inches.
genuinely legit 6'2". Sorry, 7'2". He is a tall motherfucker. Like he's
Exactly.
huge. I think it'll be a good match. I think for me personally, just to sort of wrap up the WrestleMania talk, and I mentioned it earlier in the week, Logan Paul, Seth Rollins. I think it's gonna be a good match, and I think that might steal the show personally. But it's not the match I'm looking most forward to. I think it's Cody and Roman. That is just.
Yeah.
I'm very interested to see what the result is. But overall, I'm looking forward to it. I'm glad you're looking forward to it. And the listeners out there,
Oh yes.
WrestleMania. Give me your predictions in the comments below as well, because this will be out before WrestleMania weekend. Awesome, awesome. Let's go back to you. So
Oh,
I
more
saw
about
you
me.
recently announced you recently announced a debut that you're going to be having for
Yep.
CCW Copenhagen Championship Wrestling,
Yes.
run by Luke Sharp, good friend of the show, good guy.
Yeah.
So I want to ask, how did this happen? And are you looking forward to making your let me try it again. Looking
Oh,
forward to making your
definitely, definitely.
debut in Denmark.
Yeah, I am. I mean, I've looked forward to sort of traveling a bit more. A lot of the times it's not possible due to the weekends.
Yeah.
So me and CCW have been talking for a while, trying to get something in the diary, but
Hmm.
trying to fit it around the schedule of there's always weekends where you have some more stuff on or you
Yeah.
have shows sandwiching and I think although I managed to get the flights I wanted from out early morning, back early morning on Sunday, so it doesn't interfere with other shows I'm doing. It's very hard to sort of try to angle it and get it perfectly around those, sort of align all the
Mm.
stars and make sure everything's perfectly set up for it. So, but we've been talking about it for ages, trying to get something together. Then they have this big tournament coming up. He was telling me about the Copenhagen Cup, which is very exciting for me. So, and obviously to be part of that and represent Canada,
Hmm.
I think it's good. You know what I mean? I like look
Yeah.
forward to representing my country and going over there, even though it's it's something different, and I like that because and
And
I've
you're
been
on the
wrestling
poster as
different
well, mate.
guys,
That's
so
that's one thing I noticed straight away.
obviously I'm on the poster. When you look this good, they're not going to not put you on the poster, you
Like,
know.
with that tash, mate, and
So
the hat. Be
oh,
stupid not to,
exactly,
mate.
exactly. It's
Got to
it's,
sell
it's sell
tickets.
out straight away, isn't it? It's a sell out
Exactly,
stash.
mate. The Danish go
That's
mad for
it.
it, mate. They go mad. I can hear them already.
Danish love a good mustache. You know what I mean? So
If this,
it's well, as I
I'm
say,
just associating that with South Park as well. Just that episode, the Troll Hunter one. So
yes,
I'm just going full nerd at the moment. I think the Troll Space or something. It's based on Denmark, and they basically build a machine to catch out trolls. And God, I'm going off one now. But yeah, no, that's cool. I'm looking
all
forward to
good.
your debut and hearing about how it goes as well. CCW, good company. I've had Ruby Roberts on as well, the basic
Yeah,
player, so she's doing really well out there as well. So I want to rewind the clocks, as you are an experienced pro wrestler, been doing this for what, 20 years now.
yeah,
I want to rewind
yes.
the clocks and find out, before you began your pro wrestling career, what actually made you a fan of it in the first place.
Oh well, that goes. I grew up in Newfoundland in Canada, so there wasn't really a lot of pro wrestling there where I
Hmm.
grew up. I think it was more or less the fact of anyone else. How does anybody get into it? You're a fan of it.
Hmm.
You watch it. You fall in love with the characters. You grow up watching people like Hulk Hogan, like Andre the Giant, like Brutus the Barber Beefcake, the Bushwhackers, characters like this that you
The
sort of
golden
fall in
era.
love with. And exactly, and you watch it and you're thinking, this is really good. And then as you grow a teenager and you start getting a bit of attitude about you, so
Yeah.
does the WWF adapts to that, and all of a sudden now you're crotch chop and you're
Yeah.
spitting your middle fingers up. You're giving oh
Spitting
hell
that
yes.
wine on people.
And
Gangrel,
exactly,
by the
it's
way.
it's
Not just me, just being not
oh
me
no,
being
I know,
alcoholic.
just not just spitting wine at people. Just we're just looking for cups of blood to spit blood at people and things. But as I say, I mean, you grow up as a fan of it and you watch it and you sort of
Yeah.
like. I grew up in a small town. It was only 3,000 people. So we went to high school. Obviously, you play in the sports and stuff, but there's no real wrestling. We had amateur wrestling,
Hmm.
which we did. I did a bit in
Did
high
you not make
school
your
and
way
things.
to
But
like the Heart Dungeon or anything like that?
Well, I did go there because I moved to Calgary when I was about 18
Yeah.
with my family because there was no real work in Newfoundland. Without going into the Canadian history of economics in Newfoundland, there's not really a lot of work in Newfoundland.
Hmm.
So everybody moved to the mainland. Now, luckily for me, my dad got a job in Calgary, so I ended up being relocated to Calgary, and then went there for a bit. And then I went to the Heart Dungeon a couple times. I spoke to Bruce about training there and things like that. But then I ended up moving to the UK.
Hmm.
So I sort of had an opportunity to train there, which I mean, hindsight, I always think, well, what would happen if I trained there and
Yeah.
never came? But then again, it's hindsight's a wonderful thing, and I've done quite well for
Could have been
myself
the Hart
anyway.
Dynasty with
Regard, it
Teddy
could be.
Hart,
I
the
could
cat
have
lover.
been. I could have been. I do love cats. I do love cats. So it's we have that in common at least. But as I say, I mean, I'd moved over here. I met a girl from England, so I ended up moving over here. Young love. That didn't work out, but it never does. And
No.
then sort of I ended up training. I found a wrestling school in Newcastle
Yeah.
called WZW, which was headed up by Isaac Carab, Iceman, and he sort of trained me up, and then had a few first shows up here, and just went
Mm.
from strength to strength really from
What was
there.
your first impressions of the UK and the UK wrestling scene?
For me, I only ever knew wrestling. Like I went to see a lot of Stampede shows, so I knew a bit of independent wrestling.
Hmm.
But back when I started, there wasn't really a big internet presence.
Yeah.
So you didn't have that. I wonder what wrestling's like over there. Let me go on YouTube and watch it. Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Didn't have
Like
that
when I
luxury
grew up,
back
like
then.
exactly, we didn't have it
It
like
was
that.
just
Like
like whatever VHS you can get your hands on.
exactly, we used to trade VHS. So we used to say, "Oh, you got this? I got this on VHS." And there was a guy called David Pick who used to get a lot of the independent shows from America. He used to go over to America to CCW and stuff like that and bring a
Hmm.
lot of that stuff over here. And we used to go. David used to come to the training because he was based in Newcastle, have a big bag full of DVD or cassette tapes and be like, "Oh, I've got this tape, I've got this tape." And you'd watch them and you'd study what they're doing over in America and stuff. And you do a bit here and things like that. But I mean, for me, it was like I always sort of loved the there was the big guy wrestlers, you know what I mean, and things like that for when I was watching it.
Hmm.
But when I moved over here and sort of got the tapes, I started watching the tapes, and then YouTube came out, and YouTube was sort of, which was both a blessing and a curse that we didn't have it growing up because there's that much old wrestling now that I can go back and watch
Hmm.
through YouTube, through old tapes that I have never watched before.
But I feel like it made you kind of
And then,
grateful for what you did have at the time. I mean, don't get
oh
wrong,
yeah, definitely,
there's so much wrestling out there now. I can just literally pause this, go and Google, YouTube, whatever, on demand, network,
yeah,
whatever, find what
watch it.
match, and that's it. And that's it. But we'd have to
But
put
that's the thing.
get our
We had
VHS.
to go
I'm
to
showing
the
my age as well.
TV. We had to get the TV and like had to be there to watch it because there was no. And if you weren't there to watch it, you had to be there to hit record on the
Yeah.
VHS. You know what I mean? They recorded if you weren't going to watch it live.
Watching the old pay per
And if
view back
nobody
in the
was
day,
there,
literally like stay up to one, recording it, then go and sleep.
and if they missed it, if my mom missed hitting that button to record Raw,
And one angry
there'll be
son,
trouble on. There'll be trouble on in the Strange household, that's
what
for
was it? One
sure.
angry country boy.
And exactly one angry country boy in that little house there in the homestead. So it's but I mean, it's as everyone else, you grow up watching pro wrestling, you fall in
Yeah.
love with pro wrestling, you move into it, and you become a fan of it, and you think, oh, well, I'd love to do it. And I was always sort of quite the character in school
Mhm.
anyway. I was never really good with schoolwork and grades and stuff like that, like book smarts and stuff. But I always had a bit of street smarts about me and things like that. So then I got on the pro wrestling, I did a bit of training, and I sort of shilling myself and selling myself to people and going out and telling people, oh,
Mm.
do this, do this. A lot of people were saying, yeah, we'll get him, we can get him on because you know what I mean?
He
He's
can hustle.
Canadian. I was Canadian. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It was something different that you could
That just
advertise for
that
the
kind of like
shows or local
automatically
shows. And
puts you ahead of talent anyway, just because of
well, that's it
wrestlers
because
that are
it's
associated with Canada. Brett, Jericho,
exactly. And then they watch me and go,
he
well,
won't
they're
be
not all
mentioned.
good.
Yeah. Oh, okay. No, I'm joking.
You
I know
can
you
mention him.
said
You can mention him. He's okay to mention.
Mr.
Like
Benoit, but no, and
Mr. Benoit, I
Test.
think it's
Dude
Chris
doesn't love
Benoit. We
Test.
remember his wrestling. Test
Yeah,
Antimatter is good, but
yeah.
I always remember Chris Benoit for his wrestling, not for that
Same,
sort of
same.
stuff.
I just like. I mean,
Like
minus
it's
that weekend. Like, I'm one of those people I can watch his matches. I'm fine with it. But at the same time, I completely understand people that can't separate the weekend and him and his actual matches. Completely understand it. Everyone's mind's different. It's just a horrible thing. But I grew up on the man, and I adored his matches and him as an in-ring talent. So it's a shame.
Exactly,
But
exactly.
and
So
I'm trying to. I love Canadian wrestlers. I mean, you got why got my mind just gone blank, man. Lance Storm,
Lance Storm,
Tim
got
Strange,
Lance Storm. You've got Tim Strange. You've got all the
Trish
heart. You've got
Stratus,
Natty. You've got TJ
D.H.
Wilson.
Smith, David
Yeah,
Hart. Don't forgive me for
Davy,
saying that.
Davy
Tyson
Boy.
Kidd. Kevin
True.
Owens,
Yeah,
Sami Zayn, who we've mentioned earlier in the
yeah,
show.
exactly. You've got a lot. You've got Trish Stratus.
Mm,
She's Canadian. That's, yeah, there's a lot of great Canadian
mm.
wrestlers. I'm
It's
sure
just,
there's
I
more
mean,
we forgot.
I used to adore the Canadian wrestling when Brett was doing the anti WWE, no, sorry,
Yeah.
anti American stuff with him, Heart Foundation, and America.
Oh, that was real. That was real.
Imagine you loving that.
That was. Well, when you talk about go and watch the Calgary Stampede and stuff, and it's like, it was everything that everyone thought of America anyway.
Hmm.
Like over in North America, 'cause
He
there's
was just
always
saying
sort
that
of
loud.
the same, exactly the same rift that people have in England with Scotland. England and Scotland always have that sort of rift.
Yeah,
The North and South in England have a bit of a rift. You know what I mean? The different areas and
big
stuff.
time.
And you had that rift with Canada and America, and it wasn't
Yeah,
because Canada was always the polite people. Everyone loves Canadians. Nobody dislikes Canadians.
I've heard you'll
But
never meet a
then
rude Canadian. Is this true?
exactly, it's people are raised right, and then you have America on the other hand. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of great Americans. I have a lot of American friends and things like that. But playing on the stereotypes of America, which they did,
Hmm.
it was known for the Laxey gun crimes and the crimes and the broken families and the this, that, and the
Yeah.
other. So when Bret Hart started playing on that, Canada became this wholesome,
Mm.
loving
We care for the old and the
country,
sick.
and exactly we look after our own and everything
Yeah.
like that, which is ingrained in it. But I think with Canada being a relatively new country, when you look at countries, it
Hmm.
is one of the things that it's very much like a melting pot of different cultures and things like that. So it's always very accepting of different cultures and everything
Mm.
like that. So you grow up with a different sort of mentality
Mm.
toward different races, religions, creeds, colors, anything like that. Whereas I think in America, it was very much the southern states
Bit
are known for
different, yeah.
time.
Not
You
known
know what I
for its
mean? And not
hospitality.
to say that they're like that, because I spend a
No.
lot of time out in Texas and people aren't like that. But again, it is always has that underlying aftertaste. You know what I mean? And
Mm.
the underlying sort of flavor down south that's what they're associated with. Isn't
Yeah.
right, but
No, I get
it
you.
is what it is.
Before you did become the Canadian cowboy, I gotta
Yeah,
ask, you were Tim Lestrange.
yeah. I
So
was
you
Tim
told
Strange.
me before this chat the
Yeah,
origins of that. But if you could tell the listeners about
yes,
Tim Lestrange,
of
the
course.
wrestling career Tim Lestrange had, and just go into a bit more detail. I mean, I thought it was quite
So
funny personally, but
so I started out as Tim Strange, which
yeah.
was the Canadian hero Tim Strange.
Hmm.
I then went to become Tim Pavito, which was part of the tag team Los Fido with Prince
When you
Amin,
were Mexican?
Mojo Pavito. When I was Mexican, that's right. Even though I had like a maple leaf tattoo, it was a Canadian red, it was a Mexican red leaf. I explained to people. Then we did the Mexican twin brothers. That was great fun. And then I came back to being sort of the Canadian hero, but as Tim Lestrange. To be honest with you, it was at the height of Harry Potter.
Yeah.
So and I absolutely adore, like, my celebrity crush is Helena Bonham Carter, and it always has been and always will be. Just something about her, and I just
Mm.
thinking she was Bellatrix Lestrange for anyone who's not familiar with Harry Potter. My name was already Strange, and when I looked into it, the origins of my name was French, Strange, and it was actually originated Lestrange, and I thought that was quite a cool little
Yeah, yeah.
coincidence. So I thought I'm just gonna go with it. I'll just be Tim Lestrange because people didn't, no matter which country you come from in wrestling, if you come
Mm.
out and say this country's bad, my country's good, they're gonna dislike you. But I think if you add French into it as well, then
And everyone assumes
what's
if we're
not to
doing
hate?
stereotypes that the French are arrogant and
Exactly. You
you
just add
know
the
think they're
especially
better
like
than everyone else.
add it in. It's you add in the French element, and then obviously we become Tim Lestrange, and now
Automatic
you're
hill.
French. Automatic. You know what I mean? They're already going. I don't like him because he's from a different country. He's saying my country's worse than his country. But he's French as well, so
That
it's
still
it's
works,
it
by the way.
added in.
Isn't it mad? Like foreign hills in
It'll
wrestling.
always work, but
It
it's the
still
same thing when you
works.
say panto. you say like the panto baddies always work, and it's
Yeah,
always going to work because it's always there, and it's something that people
yeah.
can relate to.
But I
I
don't
think
think
it's
it's people
important in
being
wrestling
racist
that
or anything. It's just when you amp up the stereotype, and I don't mean like you have to find a borderline
yeah,
to it as well. But
yeah,
it just works, especially if you're a kid. No, I'm gonna cheer my country. Like it's like the World
no,
Cup, isn't it?
exactly.
Or
You're
like
always
when you're watching
growing
England.
up to support your country. Like if I watch
Yeah,
hockey, I support
yeah.
Canada. I always will support Canada. If I watch, even when I watch the World Cup, and I know for a fact we're going to do absolutely nothing, I'll support Canada. Do you know what I mean? Because that's my
Didn't have the
country.
best
That's where I
World
was
Cup.
born and raised.
Yeah,
We're never going to have a best World Cup because it's not a game that we devote much time to. It's getting more popular there, soccer, but
yeah.
it's not going to be. It's never going to be the sport that, like you look at us in the Winter Games, you look at us in ice hockey or any of the sports that we're sort of big fans of, and
Oh,
we're
you
up
smash
there.
it.
You know what
You
I mean? We're
smash
up
it.
there in the top. But when you look at like sports that are relatively new to the country, I wouldn't say it's
Hmm.
new to the country, but we don't really pay much attention to it. The likes of soccer and stuff, we're never really going to be set the world
Football,
alight on that.
football, football,
Soccer,
football,
soccer, kickball,
football, mate.
I'll call it.
Football, mate. This will be. I will
Oh,
end this interview because you've got no excuse. It's Americans, it's fine, but you have trained here and lived here and currently do. So no, I will not accept that. But and not if
I'll
you're
always
not for
call it
like a couple
soccer.
of months, I'll let you off. Football. Um,
American football is another sport I
that's fucking
watch.
trash. That's what
So
it is. I'm sorry, but like I hate
it's all
American. I've
right.
tried to get
It's
into
more
it.
of a tactic game. It's more of a tactical game. If you watch it thinking it's going to be sort of a spectacle,
Yeah.
it's not. It's you're watching manager versus manager. Obviously, the players do help,
Do you know what is a
but
tactical game?
it's mostly the
Football.
so I'll just kick the ball in the net. Just kick the
No,
ball
no,
down the
no, no, no.
field and
There's formations.
try to get it out
There's
to the
wide games.
sides and then kick it
There's
in.
positionings. Oh, mate, honestly, like this, we're not even having this debate. All right, I'm gonna. Anyway,
Stock.
uh, football. I see you took a long break from wrestling, and
Yeah.
I'd like to know if you can tell myself and the fans. I mean, if you can, I mean, if it's a bit of a personal
Yeah,
reason,
yeah, of course I
not to
can.
worry.
No,
But
no, it's fine.
why did you take
Fine with
a
me.
hiatus from wrestling and then you
So I
returned?
took a hiatus from wrestling to a degree because I had a lot of personal issues with regards to drink,
Yeah,
alcohol, and stuff like that, and sort of being around the wrestling environment. I never really left it totally. I was always sort of involved and around it and behind the scenes and at shows helping people and training people, but I wasn't on the shows.
yeah,
I wasn't traveling on the road a lot more than what I normally did, and that was because I am an alcoholic. So there's no bones about it. I'm open about it. I'm always honest with people about it.
yeah.
I'm sober now 11 years, so
Congratulations,
it's
mate.
sort of
Happy
you
to hear
grow
that.
up. Thank you. But I think it is one of the things that when you're on the road a lot and you're with people and you're 21 years old and you're getting cash money paid to you every night
Can happen
and
easily.
you're away from home, you know what I mean? You're out
Get bored.
drinking, you're out partying, especially if you've already got it in your system, then
Yeah,
that's tends to what happens. So I sort of took a year out. I had some young kids, and you know what I mean. I just wanted to sort of have some time where I got myself right for my family, which I did. But then it was always sort of the passion for me was rest. So I could never really
yeah,
leave it totally, but it was sort of I had to step away from the in ring aspect of it for a bit while I
yeah.
sorted my life out and got
Yeah,
back in the
no,
right
I'm
frame of
glad you
mind.
have, mate. I mean, like you're
But
active again, and I mean, I appreciate you telling me, by the way, and telling the listeners and sharing
yeah,
that.
yeah, it's
I
fine.
wasn't blowing my nose out of emotion. It's because I'm actually still ill.
Don't get emotional. It's okay.
I did tell you before, and I've told listeners in the previous episode, I'm still a bit sort of bug, but yeah,
We
no,
all
I appreciate you telling me, man. I'm happy that you're in a good place. 11 years sober as well.
yeah.
Yeah, got family as well now, and actively representing Canada. But can you tell me about the cowboyism? I don't know if that's the correct term to
Hmm.
use, but why you are in a country boy. I
Yeah.
mean, I didn't actually realize Canada has such a big association with sort of the country
Country
music
western.
and yeah, yeah. If you can talk go
Yeah.
into
So
detail, I mean, I'm not going to pretend
yeah,
I
of
know about
course.
it, but from what I've
So
seen,
for me, where I grew up in Newfoundland, it was such a small little community of 3,000 people,
hmm
and it always had that sort of country mentality that anyone who knows Newfoundlanders, we refer to them as Newfies. Some people don't like the saying because they say it's derogatory, but it's not. But that's another debate for another day. But Newfies are very much sort of the rednecks of Canada. So they're the ones who are sort of hardworking guys, raised properly, don't swear, don't cuss at your ma, don't do nothing like this. And that's the way you sort of raised up. You raised up fishing, hunting, everything country related, stuff like that. You listen to country music and everything around it, you know what I mean? So it's very much a country based place to be.
Yeah.
And then I think when you move from there then to Calgary, which is very westernized way, it's
So I
rodeos, you got the
remember,
Calgary
I said,
Stampede.
Canadian Stampede, just like it was so Western.
Exactly. So it's well, they've got the Calgary Stampede there every year, which is like the big rodeo and things like
Yeah,
that. And I spend a lot of time out in Dallas, in Texas. I go out there a few times a year. So it's very much for me like I love country music. I'm very much Western. Anybody who knows me for a long time will always know that I've always been sort of a country boy. Like if you go back, a
give me
lot of my
some of your
longest
favorite
friends are like,
country musicians. By the way, I don't think I've ever spoke about country music,
well,
but
yeah. I mean,
I'm open.
one of
I'm
the
open.
people I like are relatively new. It's Zach Bryan. He's got a good few songs heading south, and Godspeed, some of those pretty much all the time. In the car, I've got sort of the old classics. You've got the Dolly Parton, I like. Do you know what I mean? John Denver.
Hmm.
There's a number of them. There's sort of Garth Brooks. Do you know what I mean? A
Mm.
lot of them there that you can listen to, and these are people that you could
Some
probably
really good
find pretty
storytelling in
easily.
country music. People don't
And
realize
yeah, I mean, the country music is sort of everyone just goes, oh, it's all just negative stuff and all this, that, the other. And but
it's
it's
really
not
not.
like, I mean, it's not at all. You've got a Newfoundland singer, Rex Gowdy. He's quite good.
Hmm.
He plays sort of country. John Prine, sort of a folk country singer, but he's passed. But he's a good one to listen to, one that I
Mm.
grew up listening to and things. And I think that's sort of, well, that's my soundtrack. Then you've got a guy
Mm.
called Wheeler Walker Jr., and he's sort of a comedian singer, but he does country style comedy singing, and some of that's quite funny, like what he says.
Yeah,
But it's sort of you might like it if you like South Park, but some people might find it offensive.
I
But
love South Park,
I
mate.
like
As I
listen to
referenced
it now and
earlier,
again.
I
So
didn't really reference it very
yeah,
well, but I think if you do watch South Park, you'll know.
I do watch South Park.
Ah, okay, that's
I know
fine
what
then.
it's about. So
I'll get
it's
this.
all good.
Didn't just leave me
It's
hanging
all
then.
good.
Awesome. Hello there. I've got a special announcement for my next guest.
Hello, everybody. This is Taya Valkyrie La Huera Loca, 1/3 of the Death Dolls, and you are listening to What Do You Call It? Podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, let me try again. Sorry, mate. I was fucking not focusing on
They're not going to hear us taking a break, are they?
it.
Keep that in. Keep that in. Just keep that in. Just let it roll.
Uh,
Fuck it. Just
we had an
roll it.
advert, or we may have not. Fuck knows. But we're going to continue this
Who
episode
knows?
anyway. So, you actually have an upcoming title match at Target Wrestling.
I do
Tell me
indeed.
more about that. And it's a
Yeah.
big thing to be happening for you in your second run. And it seems like this run seems to be basically very busy at the moment. And like I said, make
Yes.
your way to Denmark, your debut there. I see on a few posts already. Wrestling's at Newcastle.
Yeah. I wrestled in Newcastle recently, which was a brilliant show. It was the first show the guys did.
Yeah.
They had a lot of great talent on there, and it was 280 folk in. So it was a really good turnout, a great crowd, nice family audience. So it's credit to those guys. Those guys were great. Anybody who's out there who's looking for a show to try to get on, you want to get on one of those.
Hmm.
Promoters were great to start to finish, and sort of Ryan and Ben, they were great. So they sort of had everything ready. They had drinks backstage for the guys. They had sort of some foods, refreshments, and stuff on. It's always the little things like that
Makes
that
a
you
difference,
remember, and
doesn't it?
you know it's good. Yeah, it was very professionally ran. So they had like the merchandise stalls set up already for you there when you got there, so you can drop your merch off. They had like a pre-show meeting with the sort of guy running the show, sort of told everybody sort of
Hmm.
times and stuff like that, and things like that. So overall, I mean, it was a great sort of environment, and let alone the 280 people that they had in the Northeast show.
Yeah.
And like, there's a lot of stuff in the Northeast, and I think the Northeast of England tends to get a bit of a bad reputation. There's a few good promotions up here, but
Hmm.
then you've got other promotions that are, I wouldn't say they're bad, but
I feel like the North
they're not.
is maybe getting a bit of a better reputation these days, especially since the pandemic.
Yeah, no,
I
I
think a
mean,
lot of
there's
people slept on the
a lot
North
of
a bit.
people. A lot of people slept on it, but think a lot of times you're always going to have your sort of smaller promotions that
Yeah.
run with the same 4 or 5 guys, and they draw a handful of people. Do you know what I mean? And things like that. But I think it's when you live up here, it's good to see the Northeast do well. So I mean, we've got North on the doorstep. They do really well. They get
Yeah.
good crowds in. You've got sort of some touring companies such as like Mega Slam come up here a lot, EPW come up here a lot, and they do the touring shows up here, and they always get 100 in, you know what I mean? And so it's the fans out there always put on good shows. And you have like Wrestling Newcastle, which clues in the name, you know what I mean? It's Wrestling Newcastle. But again, they had a great debut show, and hopefully they can build on that. I was telling the guys they've got another show, I think July, and so obviously I'll go check that out. They have some good people on, like Scotty Raw. They got Brady on. They got Dean Allmark on, he's a great wrestler.
Yeah, he's
So
quality.
anything like that, I think Nathan Cruz is on the one in July as well.
Yeah, he's good.
So a lot of
Had
these
him on the
guys who are great wrestlers and things like that. It's good to see them coming up to the Northeast and doing like seminars and stuff for any budding wrestlers out there who want to learn the trade or brush up. But I would always tell people it's best to learn from as many different people as possible.
Yeah.
Different ways of doing things and things like that. Especially when you have people like Dean Allmark coming up here, and he did a seminar that was well attended. And then you have like people, I think Nathan Cruz might be doing a seminar next time he's up. And I think again, it's great to sort of get these people who you wouldn't normally be able to learn from. And
Well,
do
these
that.
both
But
may
I
be
mean,
similar, but they'll have sort of different experiences.
exactly. There's always sort of different experience, different things you draw on. I always find when I first started out and I started training with people and training with different guys, that we had Alex Shane, Mark Sloan, people that would come up to the training school and run seminars and things like
Alex
that.
Shane, he was
People like
a
Stevie
character.
Knight. Oh yeah, he was. Stevie Knight's over. We had sort of then you go on road with like Ricky Knight, Zach Knight, Soraya,
Yeah.
stuff like that, and you learn a lot from those guys just wrestling and being around them and stuff. And I think it's you never stop learning. Like when you're doing wrestling thing, I think it's an important thing to always sort of check your ego at the door and realize that you can learn something from anybody, no matter where you are on the card or who's on the card with you. There's always something you could learn from anyone. Do you know what I mean? It's always good to have more experienced people on the shows because you draw from them, they give you feedback and stuff like that. And I always watch my own matches back, try to
Yeah.
improve on there. But I mean, to go back to sort of the question in regards to
Oh, sorry, the title match.
Target title match and stuff like that. I mean, Target has sort of fast become sort of one of the promotions you'll see me at a lot, especially the Carlisle shows. I mean, they run it at the venue, which is right in the center of Carlisle. It's a great show, good production, brilliant. They get all the matches out on YouTube, things like that. If you want to check out the YouTube channels, but they've got a lot of like great young talent coming up through as well. But they also draw in some more experienced people as well, like myself. We've got Martin Kirby and Tank and
I
stuff like
thought you
that.
and Mark
Wrestled
Kirby had a good match.
We had a great match. We had a good match back in February. It was good. It's always good. Martin's been one of my longest friends. So I've known Martin since he started, and sort of we kept in touch. Even when I took a sabbatical, he's always one of the good guys. And see him, the successes he's had over the years, going to Dragon Gate with What Culture, things like that. It couldn't happen to a nicer guy because he is one of the nicest guys out there. But I think it's when you're on the shows with these people and you wrestle him, like Tank, who I'm wrestling in April. Again, it's another match I'm looking forward to because he's a tough guy and he's sort of a big guy as well. So it's nice when you get in there with another big guy and throw down a bit. I mean, he's a great talent, great ability. So it'll be a good match for the fans, and I always enjoy it. Even I've never wrestled him before, so I think it's always nice to still, when you're around as long as you have been, is wrestling people you haven't wrestled before. So I think it's nice to go out and wrestle a friend or a person you've wrestled 100 times over, and
Probably like the night
you
off,
know what
isn't
they're
it?
doing and things like that. But exactly, but then when you wrestle someone who's different, you're thinking, oh, we could try this, or we could do this, so we try something
Have
like
a bit of fun with
and
it.
you sort of get a few things. Yeah, exactly. But I think it's one of the matches that I am looking forward to. Obviously, the Target title is a nice one to win as well, so it'll be good when I win it. You know what I mean? But
How are you going to celebrate?
it'll be a good show. It's probably with confetti and fireworks, and McDonald's probably.
Nice.
So it's in the car eating McDonald's. You know what I mean? That's normally how I celebrate any win and how I commiserate any loss. It's normally driving home,
Right,
eating
best
a
of both worlds, isn't
McDonald's.
it?
But,
Like, oh god, I've lost.
well, exactly.
20 nuggets, please.
Lost.
Not
Time
them.
for my sad
Curry sauce
nuggets.
dip.
Oh, now I get my victory nuggets because I win.
Oh,
But no,
victory
it's
nuggets.
one of the shows I'm looking forward to, and
Yeah,
it's always about the victory nuggets, Vic nuggets. I'll call them from now on, chicken Vic nuggets. So I end up like doing their shows a lot, and it's always a good crowd, and the crowd are always it's always a lot of the same people that come out to the Carlisle shows. So it's always good to you get a bit of a relationship with the fans and stuff like that who are there. So it's
yeah.
always nice to have that and work with them and
Don't you ever go
things like that.
home?
Well, exactly.
Now,
They're always there. They're always there. But it's always a good. I would say anyone in the area or anyone who's looking for a show to try to go out and see, it's never a disappointing night. I mean, they've got
Yeah,
a lot of good talent on the shows,
got a
and I
professional
know they've
setup
got
as
like
well.
exactly, and that's all about the experience. I think when people come to the shows, and it's you got to think the first thing people see is the setup. So you go to a wrestling show, if the ring's fallen a bit, and it doesn't look very good, and there's no barriers, no nothing.
Especially in this day and age,
There's a shower
everyone has a
curtain.
fucking camera on their phone.
Exactly. There's a shower curtain. There's a shower curtain up over the doorway,
Yeah.
over the fire exit for the entrance and stuff like that. And you look at it and you go, well, this is the
You
experience
just
you're
kind of
giving
think to yourself,
fans.
like, oh, why'd you bother? It's just like better off just not
Well,
doing
exactly. And then you got other people who go out of the way, and it doesn't cost a lot
it. Nah.
to make these small changes that are going to make a big difference to a show. Like the production, when you see a kid coming in and they're looking at the show, and there's no sort of gravitas toward the ring. Like I'm a big fan of having some sort of barrier
Yeah.
around the ring, whether that be tables or whether that be something like that. But I don't think people should be able to go up to the ring and touch the ring and tap the ring and stuff
I'm
like
not a
that.
fan of that either.
I
Like,
don't
I know
think
they have it like
it's like I don't like
PWG
it.
and
Yeah, no, it's like well, I think
I know
those are all
Progress
because they're
kind of
more
used to
grown
kind of do
ups.
it, but I don't like
They're
that.
grown up shows though. See, those are not. I
Yeah,
wouldn't say they're kid shows.
yeah.
They're
But
adults. I
even if
don't
it's
mind
like
adults
kid or
going.
adult, whoever, I just don't like that. I think that's just too much.
I
I
don't.
think
I don't like
sometimes you get
kids
that barrier
being
between, the
exactly.
fans
I think
and the
it's like
talent.
if you think about it, back in the day when Rikishi or Scotty 2 Hotty and Grandmaster Sexay used to get a kid in the ring to
Yeah,
do a bit of a dance or something at house shows, it was such a great moment because
yeah,
that kid was being chosen to go in the ring.
yeah,
Whereas when you go to a show and it's like every kid just jumps on the ring and you're thinking,
yeah.
get the kids off the ring.
It's
It's
not
not
so
safe
special
for
now. Just
kids
make
to
them
be
film
jumping off the
titled
ring.
now when you
Exactly.
next
It's
go
just
back to the show. I've never been a
exactly.
fan
And
of
it's
that. Never
just,
been a fan. But I've never been a fan of like being front row
it's
anyway. I think because sometimes you can kind of like hear the wrestlers. I think no matter how quiet you are, you can just kind of
what do
see
you
the
mean? Why would
preparation.
the wrestlers be
I
talking
don't
to
know.
each other?
Maybe they're just having a go at each other, but being really quiet about it.
I think they are. I think they are just trying to
But I
swear
prefer
under their
being far
breath.
away, just because tend to enjoy it a bit more. But when I'm up front, I just feel like I get too emotionally attached to it. There we go. Save myself
Yeah,
a little bit, and I might hear
that's
some
it.
things. Maybe I'm hearing things differently because I am deaf one ear. So
Maybe you're just that
yeah,
big of a fan. You know what's
yeah,
coming next.
exactly, mate.
It's like your
Exactly. Like
voices
I'm
in your
just
head
maybe
telling
I've
you what
been
it
a
is.
lifelong wrestling fan. I just know what they're going to do
Exactly.
next, not because like I know it's real
100%.
or fake. It is real.
Exactly.
I don't want Jim Cornette on me, by the way.
Exactly.
So I'm not saying
No,
it's fake. Not
it's
at
not
all.
fake. It's not fake. It's
No,
predetermined. It's not fake.
exactly, mate.
But
I love Cornette.
so
I just do. It's just I was such a
he's good.
guilty pleasure. Like I know he's a knob, but I do
He's in
think
a
he's great.
quiet. He's not though. I don't think he is. Like I love him, mate. I think he's great. I think a lot of the stuff he says is right. I
Yeah,
think that nowadays is people are just that programmed with getting offended if someone
but I
disagrees
don't
with
think
you. And like
people
I
actually
love to have a
listen to what he
conversation,
says. They just they'll read something or
but
like
that's
it's like
it.
a 10-second
I
clip
mean,
of
I think it's from the fact of I would like to, if you sat down with someone and had an open discussion, if you agree or disagree on anything,
yeah,
to sit down and actually have dialogue with someone on the topic
yeah,
is how you're going to overcome that. Even if it's wrestling, like
yeah.
I'm not a massive fan of AEW. I can't watch it. I
I've
can't
gone
get
off it a
through an
lot. I
episode,
don't really watch it as much anymore,
and
and
it's
I'm
thinking,
blocked by so many
and
AW fans just because I tweet stuff like, "Oh, just I didn't enjoy this match." Oh, I
but
don't
that's
watch
it.
this
But
beat again.
this is what I'm saying is rather than sit down and have discussions like what do you not like about it, and you
Yeah,
voice your opinion, they go, well, I actually enjoyed that. Well, that's fine for you to
good,
enjoy something I don't enjoy.
awesome.
Like I like NWA, and that
Yeah,
gets a bit of a mixed response a lot of times because it's not. But for me, the NWA
bonus.
is still the NWA from what it was been
Yeah.
for years. Like, and it's not as good as what it used to be back in
No.
the
But it still
heyday of
has that
NWA.
old
But
school
it's still
feeling,
it's
the NWA
NWA.
to it.
Exactly. It still has the stage where people go for an interview after the ring. They still don't have entrance music. They walk out. You know what I mean? There's still a lot of this stuff
Yeah.
that
And there is a
I
fan base for it.
enjoy about it. Exactly. And it's like I watch it for the nostalgia aspect of it. And then
Yeah.
it's quick matches, but it's all wrestling and it's quick 5-10 minute matches at max, and that's all you need. And but then you look at it and you go, people don't like it. And you think, well, that's fair, but I don't like AEW,
Yeah.
and
But you
I've
shouldn't be
tried to
vilified
watch
for
it.
that. That's your opinion. It's
Well,
your
that's it. But
taste. Like, you cannot go.
I try to go. I don't watch it, and people say, well, what do you watch? I'll say, well, most of the time I watch WWF up to '97,
Yeah.
up to October '97, and WWF I watch, and then I don't watch anything November '97. I don't watch. And then I watch all the old NWA, a lot of the old Japan stuff with like
Hmm.
Bruiser Brody, Stan Hansen, stuff like that. And
Stan
that's because I
Hansen, I can see
enjoy
the
watching
big,
it.
big influence to your style and
Oh
who you
yeah, I
are
mean
and
it's
how you dress. And I've even seen you wearing a t-shirt
yeah,
of
I
his as
mean
well.
I'm a massive Stan Hansen
Mm.
fan. I mean it's for me it's I've always sort of liked the Dick Murdoch, Stan
Mm.
Hansen, the Bruiser Brodies, people like that. I would say I always liked them. I probably always liked them from about 2006
Hmm.
onwards because that's when I became more. I heard of them, but there
Yeah.
wasn't a lot
But
of
this is
video
when you had
footage that I
like
can go back
YouTube
and
was being
watch.
really popular.
Exactly, and then you
Yeah.
started getting it, and you go, "Oh, I'll watch some matches," and then you watch it, and you go, "Wow, that's amazing, that's amazing." And it's like watching the old Puerto Rico matches between like Bruiser Brody and Abdullah the Butcher and stuff like
Yeah.
that, and you think it's brilliant. Like just so
Mm.
how they get the fans so enthralled with it by doing
And the
so
fans were
little.
shit scared as
And
well, especially a Bruiser
exactly, but
Brody.
they're telling the story. Like if you think about it, when people come out now and they come out with when Stan Hansen used to come out with the bull rope
Hmm.
and swing the bull rope around, or Brody came out with his chain and swung the train around and stuff like that, people were genuinely scared. He used to
Yeah.
walk through the crowd and the crowd would run away from him.
Mm.
You don't
Even the
get that
officials and
nowadays.
stuff and
It's
the
just,
photographers, they would shit
well,
themselves.
exactly. I don't think you're ever going to get that nowadays because
Nah.
if you went over and the fan didn't back down from you back then, you'd probably get hit.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But nowadays you won't. People will just square
Yeah.
up
I
to
mean,
you
I
and then
think
walk away. And
sometimes it's how you sort of act online as well. And I feel like some wrestlers choose not to be who they are on TV as who they are on the
yeah,
internet. And I think that hurts your character a lot. And I'm not saying like everyone should be MJF. Far from it. But I
yeah.
feel like you should
So I'm
incorporate.
not a fan. I'm not a fan of MJF. I don't mind him,
Fair
but I think
enough. That's quite
I
controversial.
think he
I like
tries.
him, but I can understand
I
why
think
some
he
people.
tries too hard. I
Yeah.
think he tries too hard, and I think he is a great. He's a great heel
Hmm.
to a degree, but then I think he oversteps the heel mark and then goes
Yeah.
into the try hard
With the kid
a
stuff,
bit
like
much
pouring the
for me.
drink on the kid, I was
Like
like, that's
it's
too
the kid
much.
stuff, and then there's little things that he does that is just thinking you're doing it for a reaction, not to get a reaction, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and like
So
some of the promos
he
and
knows
stuff
if
as
I
well.
say
It's
this, if
just
I say this, they're a reaction. Whereas if you look at it back in the day, like the old school, like Ric Flair, for instance,
yeah,
who's one of the best heels of ever. Do you know what I mean? And he's on the mic and he's saying this stuff, and you can tell genuinely he believes what he's saying. And he's
yeah,
saying this, and he knows that he's this, and he knows he's that.
yeah.
And you look at it, it's like, and someone said to me the other week when MJF did a promo about moving a girl into a passenger seat
Oh, I hated that promo.
and
What
this
the
stuff, and then it was like,
fuck?
and then it was like, but the worst thing about it, it was like someone said to me, "He's like, oh, it must have got really big heat because 375 people called the police department and put a report in." And I was saying, that doesn't tell me that he got heat. That just tells me the caliber of fans that were watching that. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, what the fuck? Come on now. Like, you don't watch. It's like someone calling about Katie Vick, isn't it? It's
Oh
like,
my
come on
god.
now. You're not going to call up about
Yeah,
that stuff. You're like, you know, it's a show. You know, it's like,
but
oh,
it's
I'm going
like
to
when
call up the police and report them. And you thinking,
I think they put Al Snow's number on the TV or something, and then like I was, I can't remember which wrestler,
yeah,
Mick Foley or something, just like, but that was during the action there, but that was just because everyone's like calling, not because they actually believe it's a storyline. It's like, fuck, here's his number, but it's like
well,
MJF.
exactly. I mean, it was sort of a lot of the stuff he does like that, like throwing the drink over the kid.
Yeah,
Like when he does a press conference and he comes out, he's like, "Oh, the pickles, you want pickles?" Like he's doing it just to And for me, it's like, all right, yeah, like, but you could be a dick without being a dick.
Yeah. Oh, to
Like,
be
to a
fair with the
degree that
pickles,
you
I get
don't.
why he was doing that because he was taking the piss out of CM Punk with the muffins. I that one I'll
I get that, but it's like, why though?
Yeah.
If Punk's not important, like this is what I always say to guys, and they always go, I don't like that guy, or this guy is this, or this guy is that. And I always go, but you constantly bring him up, talk about him. Like if
Mhm.
someone really doesn't matter to you, and you're really not bothered by him,
Yeah.
and you really don't feel threatened by this guy, why constantly bring him up? Why
That
constantly
is
mention him?
AEW's problem
And
in general.
I'm not a Punk fan. I'm not a CM Punk fan at all. Like I don't see the whole thing about CM Punk, to be
So
honest with
edge
you.
and yeah.
Like I didn't mind him when he was in Ring of Honor doing his bit with Raven,
Mhm.
but like his whole WWF run, things like that, I wasn't really that big of a fan of his. And it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, he's a good wrestler. Don't get me wrong. And MJF's a great wrestler. Do you know what I mean? I'm not shitting on anyone, but to me, it's like there's a degree of try hard to it, and it's
Yeah.
just thinking you could tell when it's not natural, and you're just trying
I
like
know
when
what you
you're
mean.
doing
There's sometimes you're
when
just
you're
doing
doing the
it.
autograph sessions, when you're doing the autograph sessions or something, and you're like you sign it and you're acting like you're not interested. That's fair enough. But
I
like
mean,
the
he's taking
fact
the
that you
piss
go
out of
above
like
and beyond
someone that
that,
is mentally like they were genuinely disabled, and I don't remember the. I'm trying to not misdiagnose them.
yeah,
There's a video of
yeah, I know.
they're clearly handicapped, and I don't know what condition they have. And he's like, "Look what I can do. I can walk." And I get it.
No,
I
it's.
didn't like that person. I think it's a case of
I didn't like it, but I think
people were
it's
like, "Oh
if
well,
the
he's doing it
person,
because he's treating him like everyone else." Well, no, not really. It's a bit different, isn't it? It's like
yeah, because
you're openly
it'd be
mocking him.
different if he said you're an idiot, like
Yeah,
he says to everybody else, you're an idiot. But you can't have a go at guy for a disability, and I think it's to a degree. Like if the guy was like I know when Zach Gowen was wrestling,
yeah,
he used to get mocked for having one leg, but he was part of the show.
yeah,
You know what I mean? When you take a genuine fan, especially like someone who's disabled or
yeah. It's
has
not
sort
part
of
of
a
the storyline.
disability,
Nothing to do with the storyline. It's
it's
just
not part of
him
the
being a
story. It's
dick, get
not
a reaction
needed.
out.
It's not needed. Like
Oh,
throwing a drink over a child who's at a wrestling show. Like I remember when my dad took me to shows when I was a kid.
mm.
Like, can you imagine if you were there cheering on or booing or whatever, and then a wrestler just picked the drink up and threw it over you? Do you know what I
My
mean?
dad would swing
Especially if
for
it
him.
was like,
He would have sung for him.
well, exactly. And you're thinking, like, what are you doing? Like, why
Yeah.
would you do that? And then they said he got to meet his favorite wrestler, Powerhouse Hobbs, after. I was thinking, what kind of kid's favorite wrestler is Powerhouse
Oh
Hobbs?
no, I'm not
I
going to
was
be mean.
thinking,
Oh,
it's
Hobbs, I
like,
like Hobbs. That's mean. That's mean.
I know that, but
I
I'm
know what
saying
you
if you
mean.
got
I
to
know what you
pick
mean.
any wrestler, if you got to
Of
pick
the
any
whole
wrestler, it's
roster,
like,
Powerhouse
yeah,
Hobbs.
the whole
But
roster. You're not going to go with Dean Ambrose. You're not going to go with Chris Jericho.
yeah,
You're not going to go with any
Sting
of these
or
like
yeah.
Sting and none of these legends. You're going to go Powerhouse Hobbs. That's who I want to make.
As long as the kid's
Like I get to meet
happy,
one guy.
I'm not
I
gonna
know, I
like.
get
I know
that,
what you
but
mean.
it's
I know what you
like,
mean. But it's like that clip. Have you
but
seen the
it's
clip where it came out like 3-4 years ago, but it's gone viral again, and it's an independent wrestling company.
yeah.
God knows what it is. The guy spits on a kid during his entrance, and the dad fucking goes for him, and it's like, oh
Yeah.
my god, it's literally went viral again, but it's actually an old clip. That's the sort of
But
thing.
why
Like,
would you
there's
spit on a
GP,
kid though?
and there's that he literally goes,
But it's,
and you see it all, and the dad
exactly.
just goes,
There's
maybe like knock the
there's
kid's
no
hat off
need
or
for it.
something, or rip the sign up or something like that.
That's
Fine.
it. I mean, you rip a picture up if they make a sign or something. You rip a sign
I
up.
think they expect
Or
that anyway.
I always think you never rip up anything that the dad's paid for. Because I think
Yeah,
especially like if someone's bought a foam finger, I see a lot of guys rip up foam fingers
that's a bit
and
much.
stuff like that.
Maybe
And I
like
always
take the
think
phone
it's like,
finger
yeah,
off and then throw it, but that's everyone's
but the
different. At the
bosses don't tend to
same
like that because then the bosses have to replace them. Do you know what I
time,
mean? So it's like they're not happy. They're not best pleased. Just don't do it. Don't
just
rip it.
don't touch them anymore.
Anything that the parent pays for, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Chances are, if you tear it up as part of the show,
yeah,
they'll go and say, "Hey, you got to sort this out because you just ripped up that, and I just paid good money for it."
yeah. But
You
say
know
to
what I
say
mean?
when
And
parents
they're
are
gonna,
moans, oh fuck's sake, refund. It's just I don't think there's a
well,
way
exactly. They
to.
just,
It's a bit different because, like, annoyingly, like we have opinions. I think a lot of people do share the same opinions we do about MJF and
yeah.
cheap heel heat. But at
Like
the
I
same
like
time,
him
there's
as a
some
wrestler.
people
I could watch his
love
matches
him.
and stuff like that. And
I mean, for me, a good heel
I
was like
enjoyed some of
Edge,
the wrestling.
Ted DiBiase.
Exactly. Finn Balor, he's decent.
I
Dominic
like
Mysterio at the
the
moment
Judgment
is
Day.
gold.
What was
Dominic
that?
Mysterio's golden at the moment.
Oh,
Dom
brilliant.
Mysterio,
Deadbeat dad.
loving his stuff. Like
I'm not sure
that
about the
old
match,
stuff is.
but I think the feud's been brilliant. But the match itself, I don't
I
know.
think the match will be good.
I don't know.
I think
I
it'll be good. But I think Dom's winning.
I
I
think Dom
think
has to
Dom's going to
win.
win.
Dom's the future. Ray's,
Yes,
I'm not
well,
saying
that's
Ray's.
it. I mean, it's
Ray still moves really well.
for me. I think it's. Oh yeah, definitely. But I think the whole story was a bit. I think when he punched him over his mom, I think he could have done a bit more than just tell your mom to shut up. And that's the
Should have
line.
grabbed
So
her.
we can
No, not
assault
grabbed
you.
her, but I think he should have grabbed his sister.
Yeah, but even if he
Grabbed her
says
by
like,
the arm or something.
if,
No,
if
not
she
saying he
went,
should have punched his sister, but maybe like should have grabbed her. What did you say? Like without actually just and then constantly
well,
looking.
that's it.
Then he snaps.
But that's what I mean. It's like you're looking at it and going, so he can assault you for months. Him and his group of friends beat you up, call you everything, and nothing. You tell your wife to shut up, and then you go over and deck
Yeah,
him out.
I know what you
Thinking,
mean.
come on, you're never gonna hit him.
I
But I think
kind
it
of
had to
expected
be
it to
done.
be
But
like.
I think you could have done a bit more.
I was
You could have done a
expecting
bit
to get
more
the
than
Hall of
that.
Fame tomorrow. I was expecting Ray to do the speech, and then
Yeah.
Dom comes out, and he's like, "Do you know what? You've got your match," and something like that. And then
Even
I
if he
would love that
degraded
person.
his mother, though, I think if he degraded his mother, like if he said,
Ray
you
loves
know, I'd
his
talk
Ray
about
loves his
dad, I'd
missus.
talk. Well, that's it. If he said, I'd talk about you being a deadbeat dad, but I don't nearly go into about you being a
Yeah,
deadbeat mom. And then when he rips his mom, that's when Ray can take offense and step in and be like, I was on the road, but she was always there for you. And that's when he can take an exception and say you've crossed the line type thing, rather than just be like, shut up, Ma, because who doesn't tell their mom to shut up? Yeah, you know what I mean?
damn it.
It's
Is it wrong by the way? Like him, every time Dom says deadbeat dad, it just makes me laugh. Always makes me laugh
I
without
know,
fail. Just the way it does it,
it's
like
good.
prison Dom. Dom Turner Hill is the best thing that's ever happened to him. He's been
when
fantastic.
he was out for the meal and he thought it was a raid that was gold. When him and Rio were at the meal, he was going, I've got to go. I think it's a sting operation because he's like a different table and stuff. He ran off thinking they're after him and that. And
Beating
then
the
it's
clink.
class.
And it's just
Doing
like
the
prison
clink,
Dom. It's just minded just so much like it just felt like
You
a
know what
whole
would happen?
segment.
You know what would happen if it was in prison? You know what I mean? You'd get hard. Yeah.
You can tell he's having a good time with it though. Like he's keeping character,
Oh, yeah.
but you can tell he's loving
But even the
life.
bit when they turn up on Thanksgiving and stuff, when they did the
And that
little
was brilliant when they beat
vignettes
him
of
up and
him,
like
him turn up and beat him up
he's got the
at
leg brace
Thanksgiving
on.
that he beat him up. And then everyone was like, I'm not surprised he beat him up. He had his Christmas tree up in end of November. You know what I mean? He's thinking, what are you doing, Ray?
It has been really well
But
done.
no, I mean,
That, the Bloodline and Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Like I'm looking.
oh yeah,
I'm not even going back to the beginning now, but I'm looking so forward to it. I just talk to you about it in more detail, and I'm really
yeah.
excited. I think the only thing I have to admit, I think the build up to the let me try again. The build up to the women's matches has been a bit poor.
It doesn't exist.
It's
I don't think
yeah,
it
I'm really
has been.
surprised because Triple H has been
Like,
an advocate for women's wrestling in the past, but it
well, I
just
think it's
seems
like I think it's the matches will be good. The people
yeah.
in the matches. You've got what? You've got Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley
Mhm.
and Bianca Belair. Who's she
Asuka.
fighting? Asuka. So both of them will be good matches.
Your to
But
Bianca and
I
Asuka has
I
just been
don't.
non-existent. It's been piss poor.
But that's it. I don't even think there has been no build up to it
They did 2
whatsoever.
promo packages
No
on Raw,
promos.
and that was it. It's like
It's very limited. I think with Asuka, if she's not in a match,
yeah.
promo wise, she's very
You've just
limited. I
turned it
think
back
and she
to
doesn't.
I don't know what she was called in Japan, like the
Yeah,
makeup and how she acts and
yeah.
stuff. But not everyone knew who she
But
was.
then even I think with Charlotte with the reduced schedule,
Yeah.
she's not on the road as much. I don't think, and so they didn't really build that up either.
No.
But then I'm thinking,
I think
like,
it's not
I
helped
feel
both
bad.
different
I
brands.
feel
But
bad for Rhea because she deserves
Rhea's
her
getting cheered
moment to be
mad when
something
she wins it, though.
special. But it's like it's one of those things where it's like if she doesn't win it,
Fans will tell her though.
like, you know
Fans
what I
will
mean? It's
get
like,
to Charlotte.
it's,
Because you've had
I know what they do
times Charlotte
anyway.
won at Mania when she shouldn't have. She's beat Rhea before. Luckily, it
But
was
but if you think about it, it's like the Triple H heat, wasn't it? Back in the early like 2000s and stuff like that when
yeah,
Triple H was always sort of the champion or in the
beating
championship
WCW
or something
guys
like that.
left and right.
And all the people hated him. All the people hated Triple H because he's always had the belt, that he never lost the belt, that he's always.
Yeah.
And people knew he was married to Steph, so he was like, oh, he's
Oh yeah,
only
it's
got that
because
he's
he's
married
the
to that.
boss's son.
And all the internet fans were secretly going, oh, I hate him. He's this, he's that, he's that. And I was thinking, you're pretty much giving him the desired result
This is what he
that he
wants.
wants by
He's literally
keeping
rubbing it in your
the
face
as a
as well.
champ.
He doesn't care.
And then, well, exactly. And then it was the same with like Like one of my all-time favorites is Jeff Jarrett, and I think he's very, very underrated to it, even though he's had like a couple of world title runs in
But as an
WCW and
actual
stuff like
talent,
that,
he is
and
underrated.
NWA. But as an actual talent, like if you look back at one of my favorite matches of all time, is like the In
Please
Your
say
House
Shawn
match between him
Michaels
and Shawn Michaels.
in your
Oh,
house.
of course, it's him versus
2.
Shawn Michaels. It's
Was it in your,
the
in your
finish
house
where he
1 or
goes
2?
for the hook the leg.
Oh, incredible
Or he
match.
says hook the leg, the Road Dog, and Road Dog hooks
Yeah.
his leg back, and he turns around and gets hit with a super kick. And I think
With like the
it's
lime,
such
like
like
that
a
green
great.
outfit he wears, and Shawn Michaels with like the
Exactly.
gold and
I
white.
mean, but
Oh,
even if you look at that card is class. If you
yeah,
watch the Road Dog versus 1-2-3 Kid match on that same show,
yeah,
it's a brilliant match. And he does a pile driver off the second rope, and people go, "Well, all this stuff has never been." I was thinking, it has been done. Like if you watch
yeah,
back on the old wrestling tapes, they do stuff like that, but they do it when it makes sense.
yeah.
They don't do it just for the sake of doing it. But that's one of my all-time favorite matches. That,
It's a phenomenal
and then
match.
you've got his feud with like Razor Ramon and stuff like that. You've
Yeah,
got his feud with AJ Styles in TNA. You got a
the
lot
Kurt
of this
Angle
stuff.
feud.
Then I think it's
I mean, the first one was fun, but the second one, while the matches are good, was a bit hard to stomach because it was like. I mean, don't get me wrong,
yeah, I
I
think it
could
was.
agree to it. Obviously, I think they respect each other as workers, but I think the second feud, while I enjoyed the matches, the feud was a bit, even for me, like it was a bit, it was a bit hard to.
Yeah, it was. But I think it was all sort of. I think they added on more than what it actually was, due to the
Yeah,
fact that
yeah. I mean,
the
I'm not gonna
Triple
get into
H and
that their
stuff like
whole
that. So
romance. I mean, it's all it's
yeah,
out there.
yeah. Well, that's
Just,
it. I mean, it's
yeah, yeah. I mean, everyone seems cool now, which is happy. But I'm glad that you have mentioned Jeff Jarrett because I think he's fucking quality. Really nice in person as
oh,
well.
he's one of my favorites.
Really good
Oh, he is
guy.
a great guy. I've had the pleasure of meeting him.
He's
He's
really
always
good.
been a very
You
nice
can see
guy.
why
He's
he was
great.
able to like convince Dixie to like spend all that money in TNA. He's such a charmer, isn't he?
He is, but he also knows what he's doing. Like,
Yeah.
I
Oh yeah.
always listen to it's one of my world podcasts and stuff like that. I listen to a lot, and I think that's a great podcast as well. Like, not to this is a great podcast, obviously, but obviously my world when he goes through all the old stories of when
Yeah, yeah.
he was sort of at the like TNA starting. He tells stories about the TNA when it first started off and getting the money together and stuff like that, the buying out and things like that. It's quite an interesting thing that when you watch it as a fan, you know what's happening to actually get a peek behind the curtain, even for
Hmm.
me, who's been like wrestling for a while.
I mean, he's
It's
still
always
wrestling
nice to
now.
sort of.
Like he's
Oh yeah,
Jeff Jarrett has been
I mean he still
every
has it
fucking
though.
match, and he looks
He's still
great
got. He does. He looks
because he
fantastic.
kind
He
of like
still
fell off
has
a
it.
little
Like
bit
he's
and had to go rehab, and it was quite sad. I think it's in Mexico.
yeah,
He's just he's not with it. I think he's drunk or whatever. And it's just not. It's sad to see. But then he
yeah.
went rehab, cleaned his life up.
But
He's
he's
best shape he's
brilliant
been
now.
in
Like
like 10
he's back.
years.
But I think he's in a happy place
Yeah,
now as well. Like without going
definitely,
into too much detail, I think he's had a
definitely.
bit of issues, personal issues
Yeah,
and stuff like that
but
in
he's
the
open about
past.
it,
And
and
but
he's
now I say,
I'm a
but
better
that's it. I
person.
mean, now he's
Yeah,
happily married and again. He's got his kids and stuff like that. And
that's
to see him like the relationship he has with Cody and
yeah.
stuff like his Kurt's son and stuff like that, and they're always at the football games and stuff like that. And it's always like great to see that sort of relationship that they have, and like he still has that relationship with Kurt and with Jeff as
Mm.
well. And it's nice to see that. Do you know what I mean? It's for me because I have like kids to previous relationships and stuff like that as well.
Mhm.
So it's always nice to see like the parents getting along and doing what's
Yeah,
right
just being
for the
civil
kid
for everyone.
opposed to exactly being civil and being friendly with each other and stuff like that. And it's good to see when you, especially I love Kurt Angle as well, and then you love Jeff Jarrett. You feel like when you see them both, it's like
Just
that's
getting on.
nice.
They
It's
may
nice to
not
know
actually deep down like
because
each
it's
other, but
genuine
they're
people.
civil,
But
behaving, and they respect each
they're
other.
genuine nice people, and they're
Yeah,
good for the kids. Like you know
Kurt's
what I mean.
nice
When
as
the
well.
kids are
Kurt's a nice
involved, they're
person.
all. Oh yeah, I've had the pleasure of meeting him as well.
Yeah,
He's always been a
doesn't speak a lot, but
nice
he's
guy,
nice.
but quiet but nice. But a lot
Yeah,
of people you'll find don't until
yeah,
they
they're
open
quiet,
up
but that's
and
not
then they
necessarily a bad
talk.
thing. As long as they're like,
But,
if they're responsive, I don't really care too much. I leave them to it, take
well,
it
that's it.
for
That's
granted,
it.
and that's it. But I won't
I
harass
think
them at the
it's
airport. But so
no.
Lone Star, just one or two more questions, and
Yep.
we've literally got a lot of things. But I
It's
love
all right. We
it.
just go on tangent.
It's been good though, man. I love
But
it. Love it though. It's just been WrestleMania talk, fancy booking, Jeff Jarrett, MJF,
yep,
Denmark. You taking breakout wrestling, your origins,
yep,
Canada, the Hart
everything.
family, Canadian wrestlers, and so much more. I was gonna ask Free Dream Dinner guests. That's my sort of one last questions, but I kind of get bored of asking that. I'm going to ask you about your tattoos. So it's one thing that people is after this interview, when I lead into your social media handles, they'll on your profile picture, they'll see a massive ball. But before that, you actually had a Superman tattoo. Please tell me you had the Superman tattoo and what you got.
Who told you about that?
It's on the match.
I lost a bet. And I don't like Superman. I hate Superman. He's like my least favorite because I think he's overkill with the powers. He's greedy with the powers, so I don't like him.
To get which way is it? Yeah, that's it.
Oh, it is. But I lost the bet. I'm a man of my word, so I was saying I'll get the Superman tattoo. And then I was thinking after a while, I kept it for about a year. And I hated it. And that's when you notice some of my matches I wrestle with a shirt on. I'm not a fan of wrestling with a shirt. But I had like the tattoo, and I hated that tattoo. Like I've got Scar on my arm, I've got 100 emoji, I've got mini Maui on the back of my neck.
Yeah.
I've got a phoenix on there, but it's like, and I've got the bullhorn, I've got a Texas Cowboy boot on my leg. But like because it was like a reminder that I lost that bet, I was like,
You have to get it
covered up with a Longhorn. I'm getting it covered up. I want to get a Longhorn tattoo. I want to get a chest piece anyway. I want to get a Longhorn tattoo anyway. But I was thinking, I want to get it covered up the Superman. So it's like instead of having like the great detail, it's just a little bit black Longhorn tattoo because it just gets rid of Superman, and I'm happy with that. So when I was getting it done, I was like,
it's just something that stood out to me was.
Is it gone? Is it gone now? Can I not see Superman anymore? And
I
still,
don't see
to
it,
this day, if I look very closely, I can see little bits of red, and I want to go get it covered up again. It's not. It's you can't really notice it, but I know it's
I
there.
didn't notice it personally, but I only noticed it because it's in the match. I was just like, "Is that a fucking Superman?"
Yeah,
it is. And I was like, "Do you know what? I'm going to end the show by asking Tim about this first
Superman tattoo."
Yeah, that's it, man.
I lost the bet, and obviously, if I ever lose the bet, I'll always do the.
Your manly words, Tim. I might have to do a bet.
Oh yeah,
and end of the show. But Tim, we are now at the end of the show. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I think
always a pleasure.
Waffled on, but it's been absolutely really, really good. It kind of made me forget I was ill, and I'm not blowing my nose that much. A few times, not out of emotion, by the way. I'm genuine.
Just crying, welling up with the raw emotion of that. People do it. People do it all the time.
Because I found out my country boy.
It's because you watched my matches earlier and you're still crying.
You did say that. Did make me laugh. I was like, yeah. So basically, I said to Tim, to listeners, I was like, oh, I've been watching so many matches today. He goes, oh, I'm sorry about that. For fuck's sake, you're funny.
I think you got to take yourself. You can't take yourself too seriously.
You do get some people. I won't mention names, but take himself.
No, I know you do. But I just think you've got to. If you love what you're doing, you got to know some people's got to love it. Some people's going to hate what you do. You just got to go out and do it for the fans, really, and enjoy yourself.
That's what it is for the fans.
The moment you stop loving it, the moment you fans stop enjoying it, that's when you have to probably change things. But if the fans are enjoying it live and you're getting those reactions and you're having a good time, then by all means jump on and have some fun with it.
And I'm glad you've jumped
on. Exactly.
Tim, where can the listeners
it was lovely.
And the fans that we have been referencing to, where can they find you on social media and keep up to date with what you've got lined up this year?
Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. It's all Mr. Tim Strange, MrTimStrange. That's where you can keep up to date with me. So I was going to try to do a Jeff Jarrett thing, but I don't have enough letters in my name to do it. So,
I didn't know.
You know what I mean? It's MR.
That's cool. Also, just to confirm, because I think some listeners might be asking as well, like, you're not Irish. If you can just confirm, because we spoke about this during the advert, I'm doing that as quotations.
Yeah.
And that's why I did that in the intro. I was like, oh, from Canada. Because I didn't know if you was like taking the mic or not.
Yeah. No, I'm from Newfoundland, and the accent Newfoundland is a bit Irish. So I sound a bit of an Irish twang. But no,
I thought it was like Northern Irish twang, but
I'm not one of those dastardly fake Canadians that mislead you. I'm one of the real Canadians.
Fake Canadians.
Exactly. I'm one of the real Canadians. So yeah, I don't have a flappy head though, like on South Park, but I am a real Canadian.
The boot parade, the boot dignity. It is a boot WrestleMania week. Now, Tim, thank you for coming on, mate. Been an absolute blast. I wish you the best. Hopefully, good luck in the title.
Always great.
Title match as well at Target. And good luck on your tour in Denmark. Give a shout to Looking Sharp as well in CCW.
Will do.
If you can like, subscribe, and share this video, that'd be much appreciated. I will be back next week, but that's me done for the week, and that's a wrap. So I hope everyone enjoys WrestleMania this weekend. Hope you all give Tim Strange a follow. and eat some maple syrup, enjoy South Park, and find your inner country. Let me try again. Find your inner country boy, which I will do once I'm 100% and stop having a snot nose and coughing. But once this is finished, I will feel better. But for now, everyone, I hope you all have a great week. Take care. WrestleMania weekend, and that's JEFF. JARRET. Take care.
Oh,
Jeff Jarrett.
you've done it.
Peace, everyone. Take care.